a rich man's world. I have turned the soul of this beautiful land, but the beauty.
I'm not trying to say it was. There's other people didn't join the fight, but there was a plethora of a lot of them that didn't join the fight that should have. I think if I know we're so divided because we got the haves and the have-nots. We got the educated and the non-educated. We got the poor and the rich, and we got the mental stable and mental unstable. We got that in our community. So yes, and then we got slaves and non-slaves. We got fields and we got the house. I know that's what we're dealing with. And every time when one makes a stance to try to do that, what happens is we always got somebody who's opposing that because they want to be on the opposition side. I'm not saying that it's not a bad thing because we all got to make our own choices. We all uniquely designed differently. But if we're gonna make an impact in a society or in a world of this corporation is only hurts the corporation when you deal with their money.
True.
They're gonna take our money, but guess what? They need us to make that money. So that's why we should have stuck together, because if we would have said no, just like when the boycott happened, Martin Luther King and them did a boycott. It affected them so much economically, they had no choice. Even though they put up a scheme to do what they did to get segregation passed so they can do other things, but they were still able. They had to take a bow and say, we got to stop this movement because it's hurting our pockets. And they said we're gonna make sure they don't never do it again.
But money doesn't circulate in our community like it does in other communities. Other communities keep their dollar circulating.
Yeah,
we maybe once, how many times does it turn in our community? But you go to another community and it turns.
It turns back and up. 360 degrees to keep coming back. More than 10 times.
They shop with each other, but they have that community to do that. And so I don't know if it's
mentality to do
true.
That, not the community, the mentality to do that. They know, like they tell us in our community. Now, okay, now we got churches on each corner, and I hate to talk about churches, but I have to be real. We got churches on every corner in our community, every corner. When have you ever seen a church actually run around like you see churches from way out west come down in our community, painting elderly people's houses, fixing their houses up, fixing their broken, raggedy fence, cutting their grass? When have you seen our churches do that? Yeah, we can say, we don't got no money, but we don't have money like they do. It ain't about money. It's about servitude. It's about serve. Once you start learning how to serve each other, that's more money right then. That's what the bartering system was at one point in time.
Right, trade.
And we trade that by doing for one another.
Absolutely.
And that's how you come up. But see, we don't do that for one another. All the other races in our community does that. Look at them, all these gardens around here. Them Asians just got here. They've got gardens all over the place. And they got all 4 or 5 generations out there working.
Oh yeah.
They don't play around.
They got them community.
They got the great grandma, the grandma, the daddy, mama, and the kids. Everybody out there.
Right.
And they'll all live together too. Yeah. I mean, we don't do that anymore. I mean, at one point we did.
Yeah.
There were several generations in one home, and those were the days, especially when we were playing hide and go. Yes, hide and go seek was fun. Yeah. Like those were definitely the days. But I mean, not anymore. Something happened. And that divide came, and now it's mine. And this is mine, and I'm going to protect my home and what I have. And we don't share, I mean, them Sunday dinners used to be the bomb. And now it's just, it's thin. The crowd is real thin.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. It's funny. Remember that big old table, how it got worn out because we sat there and ate all the time? Yeah. Now you go over that table so pretty and decorated.
Oh, yeah. You better not sit down and don't mess with that plate. Like, you cannot, don't touch nothing there. What?
Yeah,
oh, put the leaf in there. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, 2 leaves in there.
What?
Yeah, so that everybody sit around
because we're sitting and eating together.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. We became slaves to material, and we lost a lot. We lost a lot. I'm not saying that it's not feasible for anybody to want to move out of their community if they feel like there's nobody working for any common goal. If people ain't working for a common goal, yes, I would say, okay, but did you try to get something started before you moved out? Did you try to do anything before you just say I gave up, or did you try? Because without effort, there's no change. If we want change, we have to change roll in on the wheels of integrity. Once you realize that once you have some integrity about where you came from, because how you be all this rich money, you rich, and then you sitting there bragging about the hometown that you grew up in, talking about how hard that hood is, but then you don't want to do nothing. You don't want to go back to it though. But you bragging about it so you can get you can get some type of praise that you grew up in that hood, but you don't want to go back to it and want to do nothing about it.
But they've been gone for so long. Like this new generation they will hurt you. I mean, you got to be safe too. But I get what you're saying.
Well, they're only wild because nobody's here to guide them.
True.
Everybody who has the influence left, and if they didn't leave on their own will. They went to prison. They locked them up. So you got two different types of people. You got those who had some type of that can influence. Went to college, football, basketball. Then you had those who went to prison. And then when the ones get out of prison, got on dope and got on all this, and they couldn't function in the community to help it change. Then those who got money, they got high off of money, so they don't want to come back here and say, I'm too intoxicated to deal with people with money. All this money I got, my Rolls Royce, I'm not taking that down there. So it's the same intoxication, the same drug addicts.
That's true.
I'm just saying, that's just me. We slaves. That's what I'm saying about if we would only knew that we were being enslaved, we can help. We could have freed more people. But everybody got to know that they're slaves to something. We all slaves to something. I'm a slave to a lot of things. So I know what I'm a slave to. I know somebody else got to be a slave to more than I got, especially those who got more than I got and who can travel and do all that. So I know they got to be into. So I can understand. We got look at the kids right here today. Look, guess what we do? We back in the days, we didn't have all that stuff to give them. They just sit there, they just play this. We had to actually entertain them.
Well, but this is the thing. I get what you're saying. Yes, but they had board games. They colored. You know what I mean? Like it's just different. But we still gave them something to be entertained and to be in their own midst.
Yeah, but we had to be involved in it because games, unless you make sure you have all the cousins together and they all play together.
Yeah, that's what they did when you had a kids table and adults table. Yeah. Right. Go over there with the kids. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm talking. But we had cousins and stuff. That kids, they got cousins live right next door. They don't even talk.
That's because of the parents. That has nothing to do with the children. The children will get together and have a ball. Kids are kids. They are forgiving. They are innocent. Mm-hmm. It's because of whatever happened with those two parents, brother, sister, auntie, whoever, whatever happened with them, and then they bad mouthing and saying this, that, and the other, and the kids listen. So, they got to choose up.
I agree with that. I'm just trying to make an argument.
No, I was watching a news story. It had to be yesterday or the day before, but the young lady that they interviewed, her son was stealing cars in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. He had to be a teenager, maybe 13 or 14, stealing cars. He would wreck these people's cars, go to juvie. They would release him to her care, leave the house again, do the same thing. This had been happening for months, and she was on the news. Yeah, she was on the news and saying, y'all have to help me. I have done everything. Like literally, she is on the news, pleading for help. And they put that clip up there, and she was just crying. She was like, I don't know what to do.
Wasn't getting any type of time. They were just
juvenile. The juvenile, they will release you right back to your parent. Yeah. And so she's like, I can't keep him in this house. He's gone.
They can get time at DC. I don't know where she was state she was in, but
I don't remember.
I don't think no, you need to pay, you need to learn a lesson.
Correct.
Not, slip her and send you right back out.
Yeah.
You need to show that
Stealing
you learned
cars.
That's how you-
That's gonna escalate.
Now that goes back to what I said earlier. Getting their education and moving out.
Mm.
That's what you do. You leave those kids vulnerable to making their own decisions. There's no stand-up guys, no stand-up girls anymore. All the stand-up people left because they got stand-up jobs, stand-up careers. They did not come back and be stand-up guys and women in the community.
Well, how do you know that their family wasn't like? That's kind of, I don't know how you compare that because that's not really theirs. I mean,
It's everybody. That's what the tribe. That's what they say a village is.
because we don't know what's going on in that person. Like at the same time, it also starts at home. Like, I'm not saying it's that lady's fault. I don't know what. I mean, kids.
Sure.
Kids, no matter sometimes what perfect home they have, they can make bad
It's a
choices.
choice.
I will say that.
Right.
Yeah.
But obviously something was going on with this kid or whatever.
Mhm.
He just got up in the wrong crowd. That can happen no matter who's around or whatever.
Yes,
But
and a lot of the time that happens because the breakdowns between the parents.
yeah.
And the
we talked
parents,
about that.
one parent gets selfish, decide they wants to go out and plant gardens all over the place, or plant a seed all over the place, or
He said,
or put a snake everywhere, or or she open up
Her garage.
her garage.
Yeah.
She leave her garage door open all the time, and anybody can get
It's
the
open.
remote.
The garage.
Anybody can get the remote to it. You know what I mean?
Jesus.
So, I'm just saying, but this is the problem we have in our community. This is
Yeah.
the flesh.
Right. No, you're right. That is a problem.
And then
Yeah.
there's what else? What is it for the young people to do? Like what
Here,
is it?
Nothing.
Okay,
All
because
the stuff that we have, well, I don't know.
right.
but
Well, no,
all the
I'm from
stuff-
Kansas City, so
okay,
we
all the stuff we used to do here is all closed.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I used to kick it. I lived
right.
I came to Omaha to kick it.
We had a teen club.
Yeah,
we
had
loved
stuff
it.
to do,
Yeah.
and now there's like it's hard.
That's why I
because
asked you.
There's not. There's barely. I don't think there's too much of nothing for them to do. Even like, what
No,
happened
no.
to the community centers? Like, how come we don't
Well,
have?
I hope Crawford he's buying one.
Oh
He's
yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah. I
make
know.
one.
Yes,
So,
yes.
at least we do have the champ.
Yeah.
It's really
So he did say that, but
Yeah.
that's not open yet. But I'm saying like, but
Mhm.
but what did happen to those community centers?
it wasn't enough. This is that's why I was saying earlier.
The generation got old.
People got wealthy. People who decide they want to move out. They don't care about the community centers here. The ones who have the money, the ones who have the clout, the ones who have the education in the political field, who can go get land for $1 and all that, took off.
Oh, okay.
And then they start ripping off the community. They went in there for themselves, for self-righteousness and self-preservation. They didn't care about the whole community. Yeah.
I'm gonna check this out from Alan. Alan says part of the problem is the village is only called upon when a need arises, but nowhere in the picture when an individual enjoys success and fame. So he was really agreeing with what you were saying.
What you say?
He said that a part of the problem is the village is only called on when a need arises,
Yeah.
but nowhere in the picture when the individual enjoys success and fame. And it brings me to mind of, a teaching that we have around church is just, you want to be praising God when things are great, as well as when they're not so good in your life. Don't come in here like, oh my God, I'm sick. I need this, I need that, and falling on the altar, but also give God praise when things are amazing in your life, because
Yeah. And thanks, Brother Allen, for that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. That's what I say. But we're. It's not that we don't have what it takes. It's just that we don't have what we need to give. Because a lot of times we don't. We got a lot to give. We just don't want to give it.
And then I feel like this sometimes too. We want instant results.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because of this quick age, this quick
Microwave.
give it to me now. Like, I'm gonna try it for a little bit. If it's not
Moving
yielding,
fast enough.
then come on, I gotta go. We move into something else. Because this is, come on, what are we doing? Type of thing. But I think people give up in that time where we should really be, like you said, take a fast. But when you fast, we also have to remember you have to replace that with something. So if you're giving up something, then you have to replace it. It's just like when they say bind something and loose it. Then you have to, if I'm giving up meat, then what am I going to replace it with? And I'm going to replace it with, more vegetables. I'm going to drink more water. You have to replace whatever you're giving up with something else.
When you fasting, you temporarily going through a motion of chastising ideals, flesh, everything. So if you got an ideal in the head and you say, okay, I want to make sure it's going to produce something, you fast before you do it, and what you do, you go into a state of prayer, a state of
exactly
of things, so you can start speaking it into existence
yes.
as you planning and making the vibrations go out into the universe, into the atmosphere.
Perfect. And that's
and if people ain't in that atmosphere, in that mindset, they just go out and just do and just think that they're gonna get instant gratification. No, you have to take some time and really going through a meditation, deep concentration. No strategy. You got to have a strategy room, and everybody can't be in that room with you. You know what I mean? That's just the case. You know what I mean? Wars, and when you ready to go to war, you can't let everybody ain't meant to be on the side of you. There's perpetrators that you don't want to let everybody in there.
Right.
So I'm just saying that, we just have to be careful on how we when we fasting and replacing it with something. You got to make sure you replace it with the right supplements, because even cauliflower is not. It don't have no nutrient. Just because it says it's a vegetable, it doesn't have nothing to give you.
Right. That's why they put cauliflower in a lot of diets, because it's not going to hurt you and you can replace it with something else. So that's why they say, well, take away the noodle from macaroni, replace it with cauliflower, and then it brings those calories down. You know what I mean? Like, it balances it out. Now, Alan also chimed back in and he said, in the age of the World Wide Web, patience is the cost. Everyone thinks they know instantly and demand results instantly. No more appreciation for the journey of life.
Yes, exactly.
True.
Exactly.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to.
It's the journey. It's the word journey.
Yeah.
That we associate journey with pain,
yeah.
with scars.
Hey, when you get on the roller coaster, you're going through a journey. And and when it goes down, you feel it. When it goes back up, you wait for you.
You know that it's going to go down.
About to drop again.
Yeah.
You are preparing yourself for it. So that's
yeah.
So we have to be cognizant on how we deal with things. Because we're that's why we were supposed to be uniquely designed. That's why when God took, as is written, it said He took the dirt, He formed us, and then from that He breathed His breath of life into us. So that means that every attribute, everything we got on this earth is in us. So the earth is made of all different types of minerals and stuff. So we have all that in us. Then the greatest gift we have, we got God's spirit in us, because He blew that into us after He formed us from all the minerals that we have on this earth. So if we thinking about how we dealing with how we all out here, remember, we all copper, we gold, we silver, we sulfur, we coal, we all that. And we have the breath of God. We have the breath of God in us, the God's spirit in us. So we are God. So that means we are gods, and we're not the God, but we a God.
Little G.
And so we need to be cognizant of how we move as gods.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And what we have, we forgot our essence. We forgot who we were. We don't know whose we are to know who we are. So guess what? We become slaves to the ideal where someone told us who we are. So so think about that. So if they bring you over to a culture, they bring you over to a country, they strip you from your name, strip you from your language, strip you from all your essence,
mm-hmm.
and then told you this is who you are. Remember how they had Kunta Kinte?
Oh.
Remember what they kept telling him? He said, "Our name is Kunta Kinte."
Toby.
No, Toby.
Toby.
Yeah. So and he kept smack. So this is why we're slaves, because that type of mentality is still here. And they ain't whooping us no more like that no more. They're whooping us through materialistic things. They're whooping us through social media. They're whooping us through. They're beating us with all kinds of different things now. Our sexuality, our lack of relationships.
Mhm.
They beat us with so
Lack
much
of
stuff out there. A
control.
lack of control.
Yeah.
Control, bitterness, hatred.
No
They're using all
discipline.
these psychological tools against us, and then they putting chemicals in our community, so we can't think rationally. And then they, so what are we gonna do? Are we gonna still remain slaves? Where's the Harriet Tubmans in the world? Where's the Garveys? Garvey said, "Ask not what you can do for the people, what the people can do
What
for
can
us."
they do for us?
So where are we at? I don't understand. We bigger and better than that. We supposed to be gods.
Not supposed to be. We are. We are little G. We just have to get it back.
We don't know who we are.
We have to get it back. And I think that, once having the discussion it brings people together, right? And so the togetherness is what we have to get back to. We have to get back. It's like we have to go back to the basics. Like we have to go back to what we know worked, and I think about where we were talking about things that were open when we were kids, right? We had hot summer nights in Kansas City when I was in high school. You had to have your student ID in order to get in. If you were not actively enrolled in school, goodbye, you can't come in here. And bring your grade card because we're giving away knicky-knack things. Like if we get back to kind of what worked for us and what happened then, maybe there'll be a chance. Maybe that's something that we look at, of putting on and doing. But
and we need to hold these ones who actually who's benefited from our misery accountable. Even if you are LeBron James, you are Michael Jordan, and you got all this money, you want to set a foundation up in our community. Okay, go and study the community before you just put up a foundation. Go study what that community actually needs. Some of them kids are not book smart.
That's true.
Some of them kids are technical smart.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They like technology. They can work with. They're good with their hands. They're good with creative thinking. They good. So create a foundation where a school provides all that instead of just one particular field. Because when you try to put them in, they have to have a 4.0 to get in there and keep this
like literacy.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's stuff we used to have.
So don't think just because somebody is illiterate.
I get what you're saying.
Because all them billionaires didn't have all their education when they became the Rothschilds, the Dundies, all
Rockefellers,
they didn't have the
right.
Rockefellers. They didn't have an education
a lot
like
of them
that.
Said they struggle. They're like, oh, I failed in college. When you hear their stories or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be talking about how they were struggling in school.
Right.
A lot of them had dyslexia and all those type of things.
ADHD.
Yeah,
all that.
and then they were struggling, but they somehow what did you do that educate people? What did you do? What helped you get through those obstacles that made you what you are now? Share with those teachers.
There's your testimony.
Yeah.
Right. Help.
When you listen to Rockefeller and Morgan, the Chase, and all them guys, the first thing they said, we want to start a family dynasty. We want to leave a generation. We want to leave wealth. We want to leave generational wealth.
Right.
To our grandchildren.
And did.
And that was the motivation.
Yeah.
And did.
And guess what? Yeah. We don't think about inheriting things to our children. All we thinking about is we leave them debt.
Yep.
We leave them all the things that's not structured to the growth and development of our society.
I feel like that's kind of starting to
It's
change
turning.
Because
yes.
There's more education now about life insurance and how you can leave your kids these things and like you said, debt and all that. No, we need to have our affairs in order. We need to make sure we have life insurance. There's nothing wrong with leaving your children.
Yeah, trust.
Something.
You need to have trust and all that. Put that in the kids so the kids get all that. That money, that's good money.
So that people aren't fighting over grandma's TV and all this kind of stuff. We need to set up those types of things. Hey, I've been asking, hey, mom, make sure your affairs in order. Make sure whoever you want. It's just me and my sister, but I'm just
right.
So that way we know what to do with your thing, whatever your wishes are your wishes. I know those conversations are hard, but we need to have those conversations.
Absolutely. Because we have to get out of, let's have a fish dinner, let's have a chicken dinner to bury someone.
Right.
And so, right,
we on everything else.
We absolutely. So why not do something that can benefit generational wealth? And I think it's turning because there is a generation now of parents that are determined to have something for their great grandchildren.
Yes,
so since I am here, this is what we are going to do. And we'll have a trust already set up. There are several LLCs. People are, putting things in place for great grandchildren, and they don't even have grandchildren, And so that's the projection of where we have to be at. That's what we have to do.
It still definitely needs to be education about that, because I think I've seen there's been quite a few killings in our community in the last few weeks, and I've seen people raising money to bury, and they have been young as well, teenagers. But
even still,
you should have.
We got to learn from this.
We should have insurance for our kids, and of course, no, we don't want to think that we're going to bury.
Absolutely not. Right.
But we shouldn't think like that, but we still, like, as far as the future, like, okay, God forbid something happens to my child or whatever. I need to have this in place.
You know what kind of children you have. You know what kind of child you have.
But I mean, you can have a sick kid.
Yeah. Even if that child get hit in the car.
No, I get what you're saying, but especially if you know your child. No, I get your point with
that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do know what you're talking about.
She got some.
Yeah, this is Alan again. He says the Black family doesn't utilize the family as a means of growing. Togetherness doesn't exist. Many parents want their kids out of the home as soon as possible, and the kids want out as soon as possible. And which I totally agree with that. I do agree.
In a lot of families, sometimes it is what it is. Not all families get along and stuff like that. But for the most part, I mean, there's definitely issues in family. No family is perfect.
It's time for me to live now.
Yeah, and why are we kicking them out at a certain age?
Like hearing that, but I didn't.
Because
I've never kicked.
I think it's more or less like nature has a unique way of teaching. You know what I mean? You can learn a lot through nature. So before nature kicked the kid out, this is the thing that we probably don't pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they kick them out at a certain time, but they prepare them.
They are fully equipped.
Prepare them for the journey.
They do.
And survival. They have to be prepared for the survival before they kick them out.
But see, here's the thing, but that's not always happening. So people talk about, I think I saw a post where people are going, oh no, I'm getting kicked out at 18. I'm like, who got kicked? I'm like, first of all, I moved out at 19. I wasn't kicked out. And my son went to college. My daughter, who's 19, is still at home. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and but I do remember having friends, because I had friends who came and slept on I had my own place, but because they're parents. But I also, on the flip side of that, one thing as a parent that's frustrating, don't make it sound like, now maybe in some instances, some kids might have got kicked out for no reason. I can't fathom that because I didn't experience that, but maybe that did happen. But on the flip side, I'm like, I know some of y'all. I know, they got put out for a reason. I feel like, and I tell my disrespect. I know you're 19 and you're grown, but there's a few rules at my house. Yeah. There's not many, but there's a few for you as you're 19 since you still live here, and she knows what those are.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, hey, that's. You ain't getting
this is non-negotiable.
I'm still paying for the grocery. I'm paying for everything. All you're responsible for is your own cell phone. You're still trying to figure out, whatever. You're not paying no bills or nothing like that besides the phone that you talk on. But as far as I can't imagine just putting her out because first of all, she's not ready, and I know that. Right. But also, some situations are when parents get to the point to where they feel like they have to put them out because of disrespect, like you said. I'm like, maybe there should be a different type of game plan for that. How come, he mentioned togetherness and coming together. Hey, I'm having problems with my child. Why can't you go to a family member and be like, hey, so that your child is at least not out in the street? We're not getting along right now. Is there any way, because sometimes parents and kids, they need a break. So if they're not getting along, can I go to auntie's house? But hey, auntie there needs to be whatever auntie's rules are. You can't just go. They also need to understand you can't just go and do whatever, act like you ain't paying no bills or you got to follow whoever's rules wherever you live, even if you're on your own place.
And some of the kids are just prodigal kids.
Yeah,
prodigal sons and daughters. They just feel like they just want give me everything, give me this, so I can go do what I want to do.
It doesn't work that way.
And it doesn't work that way. And guess what? That's why it gave it to you. It gave it to you in a formality that the prodigal son was just an understanding measure of saying that the father didn't want him out.
Right.
The child wanted to go and find himself. And in the process of finding himself, he went out into the world. The world that he thought that was going to embrace him.
Treated him horrible.
And it treated him horrible.
Yeah.
And the thing that he has despised the most was pigs. Remember they?
Oh,
they had,
yes.
disgusting.
It was a sacrilegion that the pigs was the dirtiest thing.
A rich man's world.